So I have a really quick study, about a 5-minute gesture drawing thereabouts, that I'll go through, and you'll see, hopefully, in this drawing, not only a drawing that exists for its own sake, as a quick sort of limited study, but also an exercise that is fundamental to all the sustained work that I do. So in this beginning preliminary gesture drawing, I'm looking at all of the sorts of big picture ideas that would go into a drawing that lasts 2 hours or 2.5 hours, 3 hours, something like that, which is normally the way my drawing classes are structured at BYU. We have just under 3 hours, and we spend part of that with warm-up exercises, gesture drawings, and then end up doing more sustained work, especially as the class progresses. Now, one of the things that I like to do, and I have my classes do this constantly, is to do quick studies or shorter studies. And you'll watch me as I'm working here. I'm working on a smaller piece of paper. It's not as archival, but it's a Canson paper. It's a biggie sketch pad. And what I begin to do is to lay in the whole figure, or I try to stage or ghost in at least a position of where this figure is going to be situated on the page, and then I fairly quickly after that start to develop relationships. I've already got a very loose sort of map, and I'm moving a bit from top to bottom. I've already figured out that I can get the whole figure on there with those initial marks that I put down, which happen very, very quickly. But with experience, you're not going to be running off feet and running hands and other parts of the body off of the paper. My intention, at least initially, is to always try to get the whole figure on there. That doesn't mean that I don't do three-quarter poses or even portraits or heads and shoulders, but at least initially, the idea is to get the whole figure on there. Now, this demonstration will probably last just about 5 minutes, but hopefully in a 5-minute period of time, I'll be able to establish a framework or an architecture for a drawing to be built, whether it's a drawing that lasts for half an hour, or a drawing that lasts for 3 hours, or a drawing that lasts for 6 hours. I try to start all of my drawings in a similar vein, which is to have enough structure, enough detail, enough of the relationships and the proportions established that, as I said earlier, one can build on the other. Part of what I'm doing in here, and it's a little harder to see, but I am looking for angles there. I just sort of brought my hand out there again. I'm looking at angles on the model and trying to find corresponding angles in my drawing. So I think it was John Singer Sargent that said something to the effect that drawing is about getting the spots or the landmarks in exactly the right place and the angles at precisely the right direction. And one way to do that is to get your bearings, move your drawing instrument over as though it were touching the model, and then bring it over to the drawing, and you see me doing it there again, and then establishing those connections and those relationships. And once you have landmarks established, and once you have those relationships kind of triangulated in, or you've checked your horizontals and your verticals. You've looked at the direction of one to the other. The contours that you draw in sort of connecting those landmarks or connecting the spots or the dots can happen with quite a bit of conviction. Also, I think as you learn this rather procedural approach to drawing, there's almost a natural orientation toward center of interest. Things will occur to you as you're going through those relationships, and you'll notice that I'll go through the relationships over and over again. I started with the head, kind of worked my way down, now I'm back at the head again, making smaller adjustments, moving back down, looking at shapes, looking at the relationships, looking at value relationships, looking at straights and curves, looking at thin and thick, light and dark. I'm starting to become more aware of the light. I'm thinking of where's the direction of the light, although in a gesture drawing that's not usually the primary concern. Contour and proportion and relationships and shape making, these tend to be more of the emphasis for me. And again, this drawing happens really pretty fast, but if you use a medium also that's flexible, you can come back and make those adjustments and change sometimes big areas, but usually more minor areas as you continue to strengthen and clarify and define.